inform and inspire decision makers at COP26. Our event, which we're calling the People's Promise for Climate Impact, will spotlight the effects of individuals' everyday micro solutions in the pursuit of long-term macro change to advance climate change action. Meanwhile, during our Knowledge and Training and Learning Week, we will partner with Dubai Cares to co-host the Rewired Summit in coordination with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, which will be a defining moment for education globally. In these theme weeks, as part of our Thrive Together series, we will also host a thematic business forum in association with Dubai Chamber. And in the case of Climate and Biodiversity Week, on non-traditional business opportunities, cutting-edge technologies, and progress towards a climate-friendly future. And in Knowledge and Learning Week, one built around harnessing new opportunities in the education sector. You will have noticed that these theme weeks are anchored to internationally recognized calendar moments. Among them, some of the 16 international days that remain a key opportunity for content partners, including participants, to plug in to Expo programming and raise awareness and celebrate and enrich the conversation around significant global issues. Each of these days is co-curated by Expo 2020 in association with the UAE Government Ministry and a UN body, and includes policy-level discussions as well as opportunities to build partnerships and activities that will engage and inform the general public. They're also designed to drive interest and high-value footfall on-site and online, because we know how much this means to you and to your goals for Expo. Again, you'll find more details on all of this in the information pack that was shared with you last week. And finally, as you know, we're also celebrating special days throughout the duration of Expo, including Christmas, Diwali, and towards the end of our 6 months, Mother's Day. For the last section of this presentation, I'd like to look at how you can get involved in this rich and extensive programming opportunity. Our entire specialist program is designed so that you can easily find your place in our program. In the information pack already in your hands, there's everything you need to identify programming interests and opportunities that align with your priorities. In our Expo Programming Office Hours sessions, which kicked off earlier this month and take place every week on Mondays between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., and Wednesdays between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., you can sit with exactly the right people from our Expo team to design and deliver the programming you want. To schedule a session, please reach out to our dedicated team members, Amy, Melissa, and Hamid, with your country manager in CC. We've recently relaunched our business page on the Expo website. Registering on this page brings huge benefits for you and for us. It means that you will be notified immediately upon the launch of the Expo Business Calendar and the Expo B2B app, and on programming that is relevant to your business communities. It enables us to ensure that all marketing content is relevant to your specific interests, and it helps us gain a deeper understanding of what you need and how we can best meet that need, all of which will help drive our ever-evolving content strategy. So please go onto the Expo Business app page and sign up. Speak to your business communities and your networks and encourage them to sign up too. It only takes a few moments, and you will see the benefits throughout the lead up to Expo, as well as during event time itself. More than 84,000 people have already signed up, and we're looking to grow that number hugely in the coming weeks and months. Ladies and gentlemen, the Expo Specialist Program is that part of Expo that can last longer than a lifetime. It's an opportunity to become part of change that will define our future as people, as communities, as countries, and as a species. In this spirit, and in order to make best use of the extra time that we've been afforded with our new Expo dates, we will also hold a series of virtual sessions pre-event. These will help catalyze discussions around vital issues and provide further opportunities for stakeholders to build new partnerships, as well as expand their networks in areas of strategic and shared interest. These virtual events will bring together sector experts, decision makers, thought leaders, and change makers to share their views on how we as a species can push boundaries and make a positive impact for the good of humanity and our planet. There are a variety of ways in which you can contribute to this programmatic series. You can be part of a discussion, nominating speakers to take part in any of the sessions. You can lead the discussion through proposing a virtual event that you can lead as part of Expo's overall pre-Expo program. And you can leverage visibility for your own events. If you are already planning on doing your own virtual events, add them to the Expo pre-event calendar so we can increase visibility and therefore reach a wider audience. We will launch this program with a virtual conversation on space in the first week of October this year, 1 year ahead of the launch of our Space Theme Week. More details on this and other proposed sessions will be made available by September 10th, when we will reach out to you via your country managers. We look forward to working with interested international participants to bring your perspectives and programs to life through these pre-event series. This year, we've all had a huge shock to our system, one that demonstrates beyond all doubt the necessity of forging something stronger, better, and more sustainable. Let's start forging that future today. Thank you. And at this point, I'd like to invite my colleagues, Shabano Tirmizi, Khalid Sharaf, Andrew White, and Dina Mustafa to join us for the Q&A, which will be hosted by Expo Chief of Staff, Nadia Verji. Nadia?
Thank you very much, Hinj. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm really excited to be with you again. And just with that, I'd like to start with an introduction to the panel that is responsible for pulling together much of the specialist program. We are here, ready, and hopefully able to answer every single question that you have in the best way possible. If we don't get to answering your questions in this session, we will ensure to have a response to you imminently, and today on whichever questions we may not be able to get to, but I endeavor to be able to respond to everything. First of all, I'd like to introduce Shabano Tirmizi, who works very closely with me on the wider Expo Specialist program and works very closely with our colleagues in the World Majlis team and the Expo Live team and other teams that you are familiar with and you've been working with. Khalid Sharaf, who manages our business program, and he'll be able to speak to you more and answer your questions about specifically related to our business program and product offering. Andrew White, who works very closely with a lot of you and international participants, with the partners, with our wider Expo family, really bringing to life also some of the products we're working on as well as our visitor experiences. And Dina Mustafa, as you know very well, and who you saw yesterday, who takes the lead on our sustainability program. While we wait for some of the questions to start coming through, I thought perhaps it would be interesting just to ask a couple of questions to the colleagues on the panel, really just to kickstart the discussion. So I'd like to start with a question to Shahbanu about how and to what extent does women and girls as a theme and innovation as a theme remain at the heart of our program now that they are no longer dedicated weeks. So if I could pass the floor to you, Shahbanu.
Thank you, Nadia. So as Hind mentioned in her presentation just now, women and girls, innovation and youth have all been elevated to cross-cutting themes that will have a place in each and every thematic week that we bring to life together with you. All the events that you have had previously planned around the Women and Girls Thematic Week and the previous Innovation Week will continue to very much have a home, but now you have more options because you've got 11 weeks to choose from and decide where your events better fit, which obviously we're very happy to work with you on to see in terms of the perspective and the focus areas you're going to be presenting in those events, how we can best place them and how we can best help you be part of the story that we tell around these themes at the Expo. For innovation, again, as you know, we've got our Expo Live Innovation and Global Entrepreneurship Program. We've also got the Best Practice Program, which really the two programs try to bring to life innovation in different fields to the forefront at Expo. We've also got a women's pavilion called New Perspectives, which is going to be a home for physical content and programming across the 6 months within the thematic weeks and outside the thematic weeks.
Great, thank you very much, Shabanu, for that. I see a couple of questions coming through, but I'd like to pass the floor before we begin taking the questions from the floor. I'll pass the mic to Khalid, just to explain a little bit more about the new thematic business forums that we have introduced to our new program. Khalid, can you give us a little bit more background, perhaps explaining whether they're open to the public as well?
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. So the thematic business forums really reflect the priorities of the countries in terms of their sectorial preferences and priorities in general. So we looked at the survey that went out recently to the participants, countries, and partners, and we looked at the thematic theme statements. We looked at all our engagement with the countries. So you will notice that most of the thematic weeks will have a business forum that reflect those priorities. And so we really want to engage with all the countries as soon as possible to see where countries can plug in. All of these thematic business forums are open to co-curate with our participants or participate in terms of bringing on speakers. And we're really excited. So we really welcome everyone to come to our weekly office hours or connect to me directly to see how we can work together and really build a strong program together.
Great, thank you very much for that, Khalid. Before we take the questions that are beginning to come through, I would just like to reiterate a couple of really big points that I would like to sort of lay out at the very outset of this question and answer session. A lot of the work that we have already done with you finds a home in the new program design. So as you leaf through the pages of the pre-Expo specialist program pack, I think you'll be quite pleasantly surprised and familiar with a lot of the content that you'll see. We're ready to begin those conversations with you about whether you're still committed to participating in the events that you were already committed to. We've laid out quite clearly to what extent you're able to co-curate specific events with us, as well as participate in other events with us. And so we've tried to be as simple and as clear as possible. And we're really looking forward to having these discussions with you as we resume older conversations and start new ones. I think I would also just at the very outset like to draw your attention, because I know that there are a lot of questions on how do I get involved, who do I speak to, what's the next step. And I think that towards the end of the pack, the contact pages around page 67 or so has a whole list of who you need to contact, for what and how. We have office hours. It does not mean that those are the only venues for us to begin those conversations. It's a venue, and it's an opportunity for us to ensure that we have time in the diary that's committed to you. But of course, we're ready at your service to really work with you on any element as we move forward. So I'll begin now to take a few questions from the floor. We have two that have come in from Accenture. The first is, can you tell us more about Expo Live's role in the specialist program, and to what extent, what will Expo Live look like over the course of the next year and at Expo? So I'll pass the floor to Shabanu to answer that question.
Expo Live is a very, very central part of our specialist program. You will see Expo Live feature through the full 6-month program at Expo, inside of the 11 theme weeks, as well as outside of the 11 theme weeks. I'm going to refer you to the IPM information pack, in which you will see that in each of the 5 program series that Hind presented earlier, that there's an Expo Live element that cuts across all. And you'll see that there's several Expo Live programs within the theme weeks, and as I said, outside of the theme weeks. The 5th cycle of Expo Live grantees was just recently announced, with 23 new grants given. Really exciting stuff, so urge you guys to go and look at our website and the press release that's been launched. In terms of pre-Expo event programs, you'll see Expo Live grantees, similar to the best practice program winners, be spotlighted through these thematic week series that will take place prior to the Expo. During Expo time, there will be a specific pavilion dedicated to Expo Live called The Good Place. And there will be programming running inside of the pavilion as well as across other venues on site. Yeah, so Expo Live continues to remain a very central part of the specialist program, and you will see that spotlighted throughout.
Great, thank you very much, Shabanu. I hope that answers your question, but please feel free to ask a follow-up question if you would like more detail. Now, a whole bunch of questions have come in about the pre-Expo event series. I'm going to take them all at once, and perhaps the team can answer them as fully as possible to address all of the different angles that have been asked. The first from Accenture, will each of these theme weeks feature in the pre-Expo virtual program series like Space Week? From our colleagues in India, will the pre-event virtual session be for the international partner teams only? From Kenya, should a pre-event virtual event, so the pre-event virtual event, be aligned to the identified Expo theme for that week and month? So really a question of how parallel is it to the program that will take place at Expo? From Malawi, how can the private sector benefit, how can the private sector benefit in pre-events or in virtual programming? And so I'm just going to pass the floor to Shapani to answer all of those in bulk.
Thank you, Nadia. So first question, yes, each of the thematic weeks will feature in our pre-Expo program. They will not all necessarily be in line with the placement of the week in the Expo calendar. As you're well aware, the Expo is going to take place for 6 months. We've got 12 months in the run-up to Expo for when we launch our pre-Expo program. So some of these will be in parallel to the theme weeks as they have been placed on the calendar during Expo event time. But there's others that will be aligned with international days and international moments of importance between October 2020 and September 2021. As Nadia mentioned, the program for pre-Expo programming will be released in the first half of September. So we hope to share more details with you then. That was the first question. The second question regarding if the virtual sessions will only be for international participants. No, the virtual sessions will be open to all our participants and an extended audience that cuts across different stakeholder groups in all the countries that we work together with. So these will be open sessions and they will be able to be accessed by different stakeholder groups in all your countries. And we look very much towards our participants from the countries, from the commercial partners, IOs, NOPs, the universities to work with us to deliver these. So we are looking forward to hearing your interest again through the contact information available in the pre-IPM pack, as well as office hours, and we'll see how, and we'll be working with you to design these going forward. I think the last piece of that question was how the private sector can benefit. I'll pass on to Khalid for this, and he can speak to a bit of that. Khalid?
Thank you, Shabano. So in terms of the private sector, Shabano mentioned the pre-Expo sessions. Obviously, they can participate. Hind also mentioned in her presentation that we just revamped the business page where we urge everyone to pass on to the business sector. Please register, because that's where all the business information is going to go out to you. And hopefully when the B2B app goes live also in January, they will be able to register and use the full functionalities of the matchmaking application as well.
Great. Thank you very much. A very specific question from India. So Shabani, can you please take this as well? Is textiles still a part of the focus for the SDG thematic week?
Yes, absolutely. And we are very, very excited about that. I will refer you again to the IPM pack, please. There are 2 specific events in the pack that feature on the textile piece and look at the intersection of development and textiles. One is an event called Weaving Stories Together, which is going to be looking at artisan communities. And I know we have discussed this previously with the programming team for India and many other countries. So we will continue to do that. The second event is a conversation on sustainable fashion and the textile industry as it relates to different sectors, water, value chains, livelihoods. So we've expanded that offering and we are excited to work with you on it.
Great, thank you very much. So there is a question that has come in from St. Kitts asking for us to explain the thematic weeks again. So I'm just actually going to take a little bit of time and really just elaborate as much as possible. And if there are any other follow-up questions from yourself or from any other participant or partner or anyone else who's watching as part of our Expo wider family, please register the question. The only real fundamental takeaway from the original theme weeks was removing women and girls and innovation as dedicated theme weeks within the theme design of the theme weeks for the 6 months. However, and this is a very, very strong however and a big caveat, women and girls and innovation sit at the heart of all our program across the rest of the theme weeks. So we are not, and I stress, we are not removing these two priority focus areas from the program. We are placing them at the heart of absolutely everything that we're doing at the Expo because they are such a priority for you, they are a priority for us, and they're a priority for the third parties that are really participating as part of the activities of this Expo. And so I hope that helps answer it. If you go through the details of the pack, you will see so much reference to programs, events, activities that are wrapped around these main themes. If you had existing programs that you were working on, or events that you were working on that you've already booked through the event booking system, we are here, I am here, reach out to me, reach out to the team, reach out to your country managers, make sure that you let us know that these are events that you are hosting. Is there another moment on the calendar that's optimized for you to select it as a date for you to host it? We're ready really to have all of these questions and give you the answers and have these conversations with you. But I hope that addresses perhaps any concern that you had and really makes you feel that as excited as we are really about these two themes and how they are very central to our current program design. The next question is from Colombia, asking, when will you be publishing an updated general event calendar? All the third-party events going on at the DEC and other locations in Dubai and Abu Dhabi were very important to support business missions. We are in 100% agreement. So what we've already done in the pack that you have received, which is the IPM pre-event pack, the specialist program pack, has already a calendar in it which has been created on the back of the information that we already have available of what's going on in Dubai and what's going on in the UAE, as well as what's happening in the DEC, based on our current understanding of the landscape. And you would appreciate that it's an iterative process. Some events are still not finalized, they're still not confirmed. We have tentative dates. As late as last night, we went through a check again of to what extent what we have published in the document that we sent to you potentially has changed in terms of publicly available information. Nothing had. So there is nothing that in terms of information that we have that you don't have. And so what we're trying to do is, first of all, as soon as other dates get confirmed, we will update our program calendars. We will inform you so that we're aligned as much as possible to the DEC in terms of content, in terms of presence of visiting dignitaries of the business sector. That makes perfect sense for you and it makes perfect sense for us. So we're very much aligned with the philosophy of aligning with the rest of what's going on in the country and the city. And we'll make sure that we keep you updated as much as possible. But what you have is what we have as of right now. Okay, I'll take the next question from Morocco. If we have registered in a World Majlis session or as an event as a co-curator, and this registration has been approved, do we need to register again? So I will pass the floor to Shahbanu to take that question.
No, you do not need to register again if if you've already registered and you have received confirmation from us that you're co-curating these World Majlis events, I'll refer you to page 52 of the pre-IPM pack again, please. You will see in this pack that for several of the World Majlis sessions that are being co-curated with international participants, we've actually specifically noted down which countries they're being co-curated with, apologies for that. But for good order's sake, we will get in touch with you again and reconfirm the World Majlis sessions that you've registered interest for and where you are confirmed to co-curate. So we're all aligned on that.
Great, thank you very much, Banu. A question has come in from our colleagues in Kazakhstan, asking if there are any specific requirements that an IP should meet in order to co-curate any of the suggested programs. So on page 7 of the pack that you would have received, there's actually a very detailed explanation of what we mean by co-curated and what we mean by participate. So very quickly, I'll take you through the headlines of that. In order to co-curate, there are sort of 3 main descriptors of what that looks like. The first is that you would lead with Expo on the event development from the original idea to fully fleshing out the concept, including defining the event's objectives, the formats, the speakers, and the audience. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you would manage or contribute to the coordination and planning. And the third is that you would propose thought leaders and experts to lead discussions and support us really at Expo in identifying key stakeholders who should be part of this event. In terms of the type of contribution, naturally there is a conversation that we could have about a financial and an in-kind contribution. All of those details are on page 7. And in terms of, just to finish that off in case anybody has any questions on what does participate mean, it's sort of a sort of less intense collaboration with us, but really there are 2 main descriptors of what that looks like. The first is nominate a speaker, or nominate relevant stakeholders to attend as audience members. So I hope that the additional level of information that we provide in the pack can help answer that question further, but I would like to draw everybody's attention to the fact that there is a description and a detailed outline of what that means in the pack itself. The next question that we have received is from Italy. When will you be able to share the new DEC programming and the third-party events calendar? Sorry, the screen keeps moving. If you could just freeze the screen while I read it, that would be great. Thank you so much. From Italy, when would you be able to share the new DEC program and the third-party events calendar, including the international affairs taking place during the 6 months? So we have committed to sharing what we used to call the IP programming tool. The next version of that is coming out immediately after the IPM. So what we have already published in the various papers that you've received is the specialist program, the international days, the theme weeks, but we're layering into that all the information that we have in terms of the events that are available. What we also, this is a call to action to you as international participants, what we would also like you to do is when you're making your bookings in the event booking system, check the box that tells us that you're comfortable with publishing the events that are going to be taking place also in your pavilion, so that once we have that, we're able to publish on an ongoing and on a regular basis a full Expo calendar. So there is a sort of a multi-layered set of information around the calendar. Specifically on the DEC, that would then be woven into it based on what is currently booked and approved. So I hope that answers your question, but please ask if there is a follow-up. A question I'm going to pass to you, Khalid, from Trinidad. Can business persons who may not actually attend the Expo still benefit from B2B engagement during the event? So how widely is the business link available, the registration link available for those who aren't physically present at the Expo?
Thank you, Nadia. It's actually a very good question. I'll answer it in 2 parts. The first part is that when we speak about business programming and how people who cannot attend our business forums benefit from them in terms of B2B interactions, all our business forums are going to be available for visitors to come physically, and it's going to be also available virtually. So that's one. And the second is basically the Expo B2B app, which will be live from January. And any business can start registering and using that application to using its benefits from January up to the end of Expo, inshallah.
Thank you, Khalid. I think there have been a few questions that have come in that I've seen on the B2B app. So could I pass you the floor, Khalid, just to talk in as much detail as possible about the app, how one can avail it, when it's going live, what it all looks like?
Sure. So first of all, the Expo B2B app, we're going to come to you as participants to start creating your profiles in terms of what do you want businesses to know about your country in terms of business. What is it you want to focus on? What type of businesses do you want to target? All of that we're going to start shaping starting November until end of this year. So we hope by end of this year that all participants and partners will have their profiles ready. What that means is when businesses start registering and a normal business visitor creates his profile and is able to tell the application, which is based on an AI engine, basically, these are the things that I'm looking for. And these are the sectors I'm looking for. I'm looking for investors, or I'm looking to invest into these sectors. This is the period that I'm visiting Expo. This is the period that I'm available. I would like to meet from this time to this time. So this algorithm will automatically connect people together, whether business visitors together or business visitors with participants. That's where the B2B and B2G element comes in. And I'd like to reiterate that we have a small video, a short video on the participants portal, which can show you how the app is going to look like, what its functionalities are, and how you as participants how your profiles are going to look like on the application, and how the matchmaking happens. So please go to the participants portal. If you do not have access, make sure that, I will make sure that a link is sent to you to look at the video.
Great, thank you very much, Khalid. There were a whole raft of questions that came in specifically on the B2B app. I'm looking at a question right now that's coming from Botswana. So I hope that the answers that Khalid has provided has answered all of the questions that have been submitted so far. If you have any further specific questions, please submit them. Otherwise, I think that Khalid's answer addresses everything that has come before the question from Botswana. I don't see any other questions on the screen, but I'm going to scroll down here and wait and see if something else comes up. Okay, so I think one has come in from India. While we understand that women and girls are part of the thematic discussions, we see that women and girls are specifically also mentioned under the thematic week global goals. What specific areas are you planning for discussion around women during the week of the global goals? That's a Shahbanu question.
Thank you, Nadia. I will refer you, please, again to the IPM pack, starting on page 15, where you will see specifically under each of the thematic weeks, including Global Goals Week, the events that we are going to be hosting with you, and the ones that Expo will be leading on in regards to women and girls. A specific few examples for Global Goals Week. Number one, we're looking at mainstreaming and spotlighting leadership roles of women in a host of different sectors and contexts in that week. So you could look at, we're looking at smallholder farming and the role that many women farmers play within the agriculture and food value chain. We're looking at community development and women leading the way in terms of community healthcare workers. We're also looking at the role of women in parliament, on in corporate settings. We've got a number of really great best practice project awardees, as well as Expo Live Global Innovator grantees that are women and that spotlight the role that women are playing in different sectors. So it's really cuts across all the SDGs and Agenda 2030, as well as reflected in the pack, various things. Two programs that I'd quickly like to draw your attention to that will showcase in Global Goals Week as well as the rest of the thematic weeks. You'll see in the pack again, in the Build Bridges series, there's a program series called Women of Arabia and in Islam that Hinda Luweis's team in the Women's Pavilion is going to be hosting. That's Expo-led. There's another series called Women in Development, which obviously very much looks at the different SDGs that will cut across all thematic weeks, that I know the Women's Pavilion team is very eager to engage all our participants in and work together. So I hope that answers your question. If there's anything else, very happy to continue to have a conversation, and we look forward to speaking to you in office hours.
Great, thank you very much, Shabanu, for that. I noticed a question has come in from our very good friends in Italy, which is not directly related to the specialist program, but I think it's very important to surface now for our other colleagues who may be listening. Our friends in Italy's question is, are you planning a 1 year to go series of events? And the short answer is yes, we are. They will be mostly virtual in nature. But we are working through all of the final details of what that looks like, and are very excited to share some of that with you through the course of the next few sessions with my colleagues, but also very soon in terms of what the program for our 1 year to go events looks like. So if you have any other questions, please mark them and ensure that we will follow up in the other sessions as well. The next question that we have that's come in is from our friends in the Congo. And their question is, good evening. I would like to know if it is still possible to participate in an event that has already been scheduled. I'm specifically talking about the Climate Week. Is it possible for a participant like Congo Kinshasa to come and present his experience of forest conservation, specifically the conservation of peatlands that regulates the global climate? I'm so excited by this question. There are two colleagues on the panel, Shabanu and Dina. I would like them both to answer that and really talk through, if you can, the program that we have put in place that specifically responds to this type of issue under the sustainability series.
Thank you for this question. And the answer is yes, yes, and yes, absolutely. There's multiple platforms for us to be able to plug you into where climate change and biodiversity is concerned, especially looking at various ecosystems and the role of local communities and indigenous communities. We're very excited under our Live in Balance stream to share with you that we've got a specific series of events called Conservation for Hope, which looks at biodiversity, ecosystem conservation, as well as a series that looks at different the roles that local communities play across the sectors, and you'll see that very much being spotlighted across theme weeks. We're trying very much as we can to include diverse voices. We've also got, again, the best practice area platform, which will provide several opportunities to talk about best practices that come from local communities in terms of conservation and livelihood generation. So yes, absolutely. We'd love to discuss this with you further, and we have various opportunities and events where we can plug in examples like this. And I'll pass over to Dina now if there's anything you'd like to add.
Thank you, Shabana. Yes, yes, and yes, as you said. We'd like to also take the opportunity to bring some of those stories into our sustainability report that's upcoming. We ask you to submit these stories. Our 2019 sustainability report was mostly focused on the site, but we'd love to have some of these stories and highlight them in our new sustainability report that's coming up for 2020. And that's a thread that's going all the way through up to event and after the event as well. But we'd love to tell those stories, and we'd love to explain the importance of biodiversity, not just for our site, but for our family, as Nadia calls all of us, that this story is not just an Expo story here, but it's actually an international story. So yes, yes, and yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dina. I'd like to take a question now from Costa Rica. And I understand very much the concern that Costa Rica has expressed about the removal of Innovation Week and placing it as a cross-cutting theme. Costa Rica's comment is that it does not necessarily make it more relevant. It runs the risk of dilution when it's not a specific topic with one space. And Costa Rica continues, there are many specific issues with regards to innovation. For example, R&D, angel investors and startups that should have a place of their own. Is there any chance to reconsider this decision? So I'm going to start with really two parts of this. I hear you, understand the concern that you have. We have gone through a very rigorous sort of review of the decision to change these two theme weeks and have them as cross-cutting. But we really feel, and I'd love to have this conversation with you next Monday in our office hours to really explain this to you one-to-one personally, that there is a lot of potential for us to build this out in the way that you need it to be built out as it links to the other specific themes. With regards innovation, the UAE Innovation Week is in February. And so we still have an opportunity to link it to everything that the UAE is going to be talking about with regards to innovation through not only the theme week, but across, even on your national day, but also across all the other events that are going to be taking place in Dubai and the UAE through the month of February. I think what I'd also like to do is pass the floor to Shabanu to really highlight some specific areas that already sit at the heart of our program insofar as it relates to innovation. Do so. We are not going to change the design of what we are submitting. We understand and recognize that there are specific requirements from every single participant, and we will work exceptionally closely with you. And I already asked the team to take note that if you're available next Monday in office hours, I'd please like to have this conversation with you one-on-one. But Shabanu, if you could take the floor and just give some concrete examples of how we're really trying to bring this to life.
Absolutely, Nadia. First and foremost, I'd like to draw your attention again to our Expo Live program, which looks at innovative approaches and innovations across sectors. So that focus very much continues to remain, not only through Expo Live, but very much so and through other events. I'll perhaps walk you through two examples. The first one being Water Week. We've got an event that's looking at innovative solutions and market-based solutions to water, hygiene, and sanitation. So that's one example of how we're addressing innovative aspects within the water sector. Another example would be in our Urban and Rural Development Week. You'll see that we have got a habitat workshop, which looks at a habitat solution workshop, which looks again at generating and scaling up innovations within urban and rural areas. There are several instances in the pack you will see across our events where we are looking at innovation and addressing it. I'll again request you to look at the focus areas within each of the theme weeks in the pack, and you will see through the subtopics that there are plenty of opportunities to address innovation through. And as Nadia said, I'd be very happy to have a conversation with you in office hours to see what aspect of innovation you'd like to address, and then we can give you, we can go walk through a number of areas that we're working on where we can plug you in, or how we can help you create an event that can have more visibility at Expo.
So I'm just seeing another question come in from Trinidad and Tobago, asking, we're expressing the same concern and asking the same question about how does innovation get addressed if it's not a dedicated week. And so I think what's very important for me to say here, and I hope that everybody really takes this as a rallying call, that if you feel very strongly that innovation needs to have a dedicated week and not feature in across all of the other theme weeks in the way that we are planning, then please let us know. And what we can do is have another think through about to what extent we are able to revisit that decision. But based on the conversations that we've had with you, based on our understanding and our plans of how it really does sit at the heart of everything, that's how we're planning right now. But we're not closing the door. But it really depends on the overwhelming feedback that we get from international participants. So if you do feel strongly, please let me know. As part of our wider Expo family, please do let us know. So the next question I'm going to take from Peru, who asks, So activities such as Connected Minds, Future Proof, the At-Risk series, which featured in the previous program, are these no longer taking place? Yes, they are taking place. They are every single event that we were working on previously is now in the new program. It may have been tweaked a little bit. It may have a slightly new focus. It may have another name, but you will see everything that we were working on with you. If you leaf through the pages of this program, you are going to see absolutely every single event that we have discussed with you. If you do not, for some reason, see something, please let me know, let Shabanu know, let Amy know, let Hamad know, Melissa know, all of the names that are in the back of the pack, your country managers, any specific event that you're speaking about, please flag it to us. But every single confirmed event that was taking place in the previous version remains in this version, but it'll be perhaps a nuanced version of it because it needs to fit in a post-COVID paradigm. And so that's maybe why you might see a change. There is a question from Comoros that has come in, very specifically related to how can women welfare associations of countries participate in the Women's Pavilion? So again, I'm going to pass the floor to Shabani to answer that.
Hind Lewis, the person who runs our Women's Pavilion, will be very delighted to hear that question. Please reach out to us again on the contacts given in the pre-expo pack, and there are multiple opportunities within the thematic week series for us to plug in welfare associations and community associations in the same way we are doing women's cooperators from around the world. So lots of opportunities.
Great, thank you. Now there's a question which is actually a very relevant question that I'm really glad has been raised from Accenture, asking how can Expo facilitate in connecting like-minded participants and partners to one another who share the same goals and the same themes. We're looking to you to help broker these connections for the greater good. Great question, because we are committed to, and we have, it's part of our plan, to come back to you with a sort of, for want of a better phrase, a content mapping of what we understand the priority themes and focus areas are of individual partners and individual participants by the 1st of October. So we want to send that back out to you. But the reason why we're saying the 1st of October is we'd like to give you at least a month to respond to the program pack that we have submitted, so that you're able to come back to us and say you're interested in this event during this theme week on this subject, that your focus in your program is on this particular issue, and that enables us to come back with something more rigorous. Like Hind said in her presentation, what we have right now are the 180 theme statements, the 180 plus pavilion designs, and some draft program of what some of the participants were very, very elaborated on in the previous version, but others had not necessarily yet focused on because they were focusing on construction or other elements of their participation. So over the course of the next month, if you're able to respond to us and respond to the pack in a really rigorous way, we are planning on the 1st of October beforehand to send that back out to absolutely everybody, so that you have a good understanding of the understanding that we have, and we can play that brokerage role the best way that we possibly can. So I'm just going to take just one or two more questions that I have coming in, and hopefully meanwhile more will come in, but I think we're probably going to have to close the session shortly. This is a question that I'd like to direct to Andrew, given the fact that we just had a question also from Accenture. Andrew, if you could just, how are we really engaging partners in the conversations with the international participants? Because there may be international participants who are very keen on building out their relationships with the partners too.
Absolutely, and thank you, Nadia. We're consulting and have been consulting over the past sort of weeks and months with our official partners to integrate them into our specialist program. And without obviously being able to speak for our partners, the sense we're getting is that they're very, very excited at the opportunity to bring their thought leadership, their expertise, and their various commitments to people and planet to add value to the events that will take place pre and during Expo. As Hind referenced in her presentation at the very beginning of this session, we're already seeing some fantastic support from for example, DP World, which will be supporting and collaborating with on our Climate and Biodiversity Week in October next year, and Dubai Cares, which will be supporting our Knowledge and Learning Week in December of the same year. So we're consulting with our partners in Dubai and the UAE and across the world. We're consulting with them across the entire depth and breadth of the theme week calendar. And I'm delighted to say that things are moving very fast as well, because as has been previously pointed out during this session, the new sort of specialist week or thematic calendar is not a revision of what's happened before, but it's an enhancement. It's building upon what's happened before. So a lot of the materials and the ideas and the innovations and excitement that was already there among our partners, we're able to build on. So we're really excited. It's a great opportunity, we feel, for the partners to amplify their engagement with us, with Expo and with the world. And it obviously goes far beyond more traditional ways that event sponsorship might work, for example, because it's drawing genuine attention to long-standing and existing work that partners are doing, again, in Dubai, in the UAE, and around the world, to make significant seismic lifelong and beyond that contributions, technology to innovation, to sustainability, to reimagining work and life in a COVID world, and all those issues that we know mean so much to our partners, mean so much to every one of us in these rooms now, and all of our participants as well.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So we're getting quite a few questions from various perspectives asking about the business program. And so to sort of again club all of that together, perhaps not focusing on the B2B app because we had a lot of that before, but really the wider business program offering, perhaps even including the National Day. Khaled, can I pass the floor to you to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. So I will exclude the B2B app and the thematic business forums from what I'm going to say. However, there are, if you look at the holistic business program, right, the thematic business weeks, forums, the global business forums, the B2B app, but also for the general business visitor that's coming and would like to really hit upon the points where will benefit his visit. What we're doing is based on the thematic sectorial preferences and priorities of the countries and the businesses. So we conducted surveys with the countries, but also with the general public to understand what the sectorial priorities are. And what's that going to help us do is create business journeys, whereas it will help a business visitor go to the pavilions or develop these business meetings that will really benefit his time based on their priorities. That's number one. Number two, when we look at the global business forums, if I'll take Global Business Forum Africa as an example, during that period or during that week, we will highlight a business journey for Africa. What are the business opportunities, or what are the stops that can benefit or open your eye for business opportunities in Africa? Same for Latin America, same for the ASEAN countries. And then when you look at the national days, on the EVE pack, events programming pack that you have, you will see at the end of the page that you have an optional country briefing as part of your national day. What that means is we, in the Business Connect Center, which is at the heart of Expo, where we will have chambers of commerce from the UAE, from the GCC, please, to help connect your businesses to counterparts in the GCC, in the UAE mainly. We will also have a venue for you to conduct a business briefing or investment forum, where you can utilize the presence of your head of state or high-level dignitaries from the government sector or from the private sector. So that is something that I believe many of you are really excited about. We will be also coming to you to start seeing where do you want to plug in those business briefings within your National Day. We know that the National Day program is tight, but also that the business briefing or a business element to it is very important, and you would like to utilize the presence of your high-level dignitaries to really showcase the business and investment opportunities that your country has to offer.
Great, thank you very much, Khaled. Any more questions on business, please send them through. We're here waiting to answer your questions. A question has come in from our friends in France asking about the previously important sports program that was planned with Fitness Friday, an iconic run within the Expo site. What is the situation with those sports activities? The sports program remains. But unfortunately, I'm not the best person to speak about that. But Tarek Gaucher and his team in the next session, immediately after this one, will be able to give you the full breadth of detail about the plans that they have in place for the sports program. So if you can be a little patient with me, I would appreciate it, and they'll answer all of those, all of the details for you. There's a question that's come in from Ethiopia, and their question is, what are the modalities to participate in the specialist program? Is it a presentation? Are there defined ways of engaging? And when will you inform us of your confirmation and your acceptance of the proposed program from participants? So there are two components to that. I think I'll just take the first piece, and then I'll ask Shafani to answer the second. We have already defined what Expo is doing in terms of how we're bringing to life the theme weeks from our side, what we're hosting and what we're asking to co-curate with you. And so it's less of accepting your proposed program. We would like you to participate in certain events, and the minute you tell us you want to participate, we are ready and willing and waiting for you to confirm your participation. The second way of getting involved is co-curating. So I'll leave that for Shafani to answer in a little bit more detail.
Thank you, Nadia. We've been working with a lot of you in varying degrees in terms of co-curating and co-hosting a lot of our events. So as Nadia mentioned a little while ago, as she was answering a question, that when we look at co-curation, we're looking at a more engaged degree of involvement from participants. So that would mean working with us on conceptualizing the event, on designing and directing the content and the different agenda items that we would consider and respond to within that event. A number of you have already provided us proposals that we are in discussions with you on. We welcome again, as we've mentioned in the IPM pack, responses from you on where you're interested in being involved with us and to what degree. And we will be continuing to have these conversations with you over the next weeks to the next couple of months. And we hope that before the end of this year, we are able to have a very clear final list of responses for you in terms of all the events within the thematic weeks in various degrees of engagement where you would like to co-curate or participate with us in the series of events. I hope that answers your question. If not, I look forward to speaking to you within office hours or any other time that you'd like to have this conversation.
Great, thank you. We have two more questions, and I'm going to direct them to two of our colleagues on the panel, and then unfortunately we have to close the session because our colleagues for the next session are waiting in the wings to begin their session on events and entertainment. The first question that has come in more broadly is around our sustainability program. And so I'd like to pass the floor to Dina to talk a little bit more about the recent GRI report and elements that we believe you should be aware of in terms of what we have been able to deliver over the course of the last few months. Dina?
Thank you, Nadia. So recently we published our sustainability report for the year 2019, and we are now gathering information and data for the year 2020. Now, this information, of course, includes everything from water, energy, waste, and so on and so forth, but also includes our social responsibility data. So information with regards to what we're doing on site that we're planning to do on site with our international participants, for example, is in the report. So what we'd like to do is work with you on some of these stories, some of these elements, because sustainability is not just sustainability of us as in the teams inside Expo, but is the sustainability stories that you bring in, that we weave in together into our sustainability report. This is an opportunity for you to tell your stories and to bring them into our report. The report that I'm talking about right now is on the website. We, of course, have to verify it. We go through a process whereby we audit the report and verify it through GRI, the Global Reporting Initiative. This is a global body. We use global standards to do this. A lot of the information in the report is stuff that we've done, and it's amazing. And then as we see your pavilions come up, as we work with the teams on the ground to gather the waste and energy and materials that you use, the data that you use, we bring those to life through our sustainability report. So this is an opportunity for you to bring your stories. Many of you are very passionate about sustainability, but also the countries themselves are passionate about sustainability. So you bring those stories in, and we'd love to tell them. So please reach out to us. We have an email address, sustainability@expo2020.ae. You can reach out to me personally, and we can explain to you more about what we're doing with regards to how we're bringing these stories to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dina. We've received a couple of questions on our international children's book. And I'd like to pass the floor to Andrew to answer the question whether, is it too late to get into this edition of the International Children's Book that is going to be published on International Literacy Day on September the 8th? Andrew.
Well, Nadia, thank you. That's a very good question. There is bad news and good news. The first news is that we have reached the point, and we're so grateful for the 23 countries who have submitted both stories and illustrations to be included in the first edition of the book, which will be published on September 8th, which is International Literacy Day, and will be available across platforms, including Apple Books and Amazon Kindle and a few more as well. We're deep in the design phase now. We're incorporating story, text and illustrations, and we'll be soon in the coming days, in fact, going back to those 23 countries to confirm and gain their approvals on the fully designed pages. We'll then be pushing that publication out through various channels, including our own schools program, and using obviously our marketing and communications channels as well. And we'll be reaching out to those countries involved in the book to do the same with their channels. The great news is that this is just the beginning. It's a digital publication, and we're in conversations with and working with so many countries, including many of those on this session today, right now, that are still working with us, with their stories, are still reaching out to source illustrators, to young children to illustrate the stories from their own nations. So there's still a lot of work going on. So September the 8th isn't sort of an end dot on this project. If anything, it's really sort of the start of it, because it's something that we're going to be looking to update on an iterative basis, with a new edition, an enhanced and expanded edition coming out probably in the first quarter of next year. So I think our message really, as with much of the conversation and much of the issues we talked about this afternoon, is please don't stop now. Keep talking to us, come to us, bring us your stories, bring us your ideas, and we'll help bring them to life. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think with that, we have come to the end of the list of questions that you have submitted. It's been a great session. Thank you very much indeed for your time, and we remain on standby to answer any questions that you may have, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Enter the event panelist numeric password.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tariq Goshe, and I am here with my colleagues Kevin Brown, Amna Abulhol, and Kylie McComish to answer all the questions that we will. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tariq Goshe, and I am here with my colleagues Kevin Brown, Amna Abulhol, and Kylie McComish to answer all the questions that you will have after our session. But to start with, I want to inform you that we are the team who are entrusted to deliver the most memorable experiences in Expo 2020 for the world. And we are pretty confident that we can do this. So to start, I'd like to begin by speaking about why we are here after our session. But to start with, I want to inform you that we are the team who are entrusted to deliver the most memorable experiences in Expo 2020 for the world. And we are pretty confident that we can do this. So to start, I'd like to begin by we are here to put on the world's greatest show, a place where we will lift spirits, stimulate minds, create unforgettable moments of joy, and inspire others to be part of a global conversation. I want to dedicate this time to having an open conversation, understanding what it is you need, and ensuring that after our time together, we are all inspired and equipped.
Enter the event panelist numeric password.
Ensuring that after our time together, we are all inspired and equipped to create something truly exceptional. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to remind you of our vision, the reason we are here today, and what is it that we aim to create something truly exceptional. But before we do that, I want to take a moment to remind you of our vision, the reason we are here today, and what is it that we aim to create. As visitors walk through Expo 2020 public realm, we will tell an evolving story. As visitors walk through Expo 2020 public realm, we will tell an evolving story as they explore the area around them, not only inspired by our anchor pavilions, but also infused with the celebration of our human spirit. Our paths, as they explore the area around them, not only inspired by our anchor pavilions, but also infused with the celebration of our human spirit. Our paths, alleys, district stages will be a place for hope and happiness. District stages will be a place for hope and happiness. Ideas and landscapes will merge as the natural architecture of the site is enhanced by the content that inhabits it. Countries will be given the spotlight as their ideas and landscapes will merge as the natural architecture of the site is enhanced by the content that inhabits it. Countries will be given the spotlight as their stories, songs, traditions expand beyond the confines of their pavilions and overflow into the hearts. Songs, traditions expand beyond the confines of their pavilions and overflow into the hearts and eyes of our guests. As the hosts of this World Expo, it's our promise to let every nation shine as we weave a global narrative that shows the world what we stand eyes of our guests. As the hosts of this World Expo, it's our promise to let every nation shine as we weave a global narrative that shows the world what we stand for. But how are we going to do this? Well, we begin by giving each nation the space and exposure. How are we going to do this? Well, we begin by giving each nation the space and exposure it needs to tell its own story. We do this by programming each country's content in the right place and the right time so that it reaches our global audience. Its own story. We do this by programming each country's content in the right place and the right time so that it reaches our global audience. Prior to this session, you should have all received our latest programming information packet, which details our... Prior to this session, you should have all received our latest programming information packet, which details our latest offerings and opportunities. In the contents of this packet, you will learn about our National Day packages, which include not only the official ceremony, but also two project latest offerings and opportunities. In the contents of this packet, you will learn about our National Day packages, which include not only the official ceremony, but also two projection opportunities in Al-Wasl Plaza, as well as details on how you can be part of the Expo 2020 daily procession. We introduce our Stories of the Nations, which is another projection opportunity gifted by Expo 2020 to showcase the 2020 daily procession. We introduce our Stories of the Nations, which is another projection opportunity gifted by Expo 2020 stories within each country pavilion to the world on Al-Wasl Plaza's immersive canvas. There are also our music afternoons in Al-Wasl Plaza and music weekends in Jubilee Park, which are both incredible opportunities to showcase the unique sounds and songs of your country on our global stages. It is also the first time that we speak about our co-curated opportunities. This includes our special days such as Christmas, New Year, and the Lunar New Year, as well as Diwali. It also includes the celebration of the UAE's 50th anniversary, the UAE Golden Jubilee, which will kick off a month long of special festivities dedicated not only to the UAE heritage, but the universality of all our cultures. What really sets our co-curated opportunities apart from those previously mentioned is how closely Expo 2020 will be collaborating with international participants in order to create a program that is diverse, interesting, and constantly evolving. Some of these offerings you may have already heard of, others may seem entirely new and unexpected, but in all cases, we encourage you to think about how
Enter the event panelist numeric password.
that we've received from our international participants. We've been receiving a lot of questions about event permits and whether participants are required to apply for permits for activations in the public realm or in their own pavilions. I'm delighted to confirm that thanks to our close and supportive relationship with key Dubai government entities, Expo 2020 offers a holistic event permit that covers all 182 days of Expo. This encompasses all events in public realm venues, all events in participant pavilions, and Expo-related events in Dubai Exhibition Center. Therefore, there is no requirement for participants to arrange their own permits, and so there are no additional associated costs. Only in the case of commercial and third-party events in Dubai Exhibition Center or DEC will participants be required to attain their own event permit from the Department of Tourism and Commerce Marketing. Participants have also been asking us to confirm the wide range of public realm spaces that can be booked for programming, and also to detail the level of technical assistance and support that will be provided at these venues. On this point, I'd like to direct you to the Manage Events function on the Expo portal, where you will be able to find visuals for each space and its corresponding details. The technical equipment and the services provided at each venue can also be viewed in the house package summary sheets. I would like to emphasize at this point that none of these public realm spaces are automatically pre-booked for participants celebrating their National or Honor Day. This is why we strongly encourage you, all participants, to make your bookings for the public realm venues at the earliest opportunity to avoid any potential disappointment. Our priority is always to make sure that you find the right space and are able to put on the best show that you can. So please reach out, talk to us so that we can identify and book the right venues and timings for your events. Finally, we are receiving a number of questions around the DEC. If you're looking to host an event in the Dubai Exhibition Center, you will need to submit an event inquiry through the Manage Events function on the Expo portal. There you will find a specific DEC tab, which will send an inquiry directly to the DEC sales team. Again, we are waiting for you to reach out so that we can do the best for you in enabling your programming ambitions for Expo. Please do make use of our Expo programming office hours and contact us along with your country manager so that we can schedule a session and really move forward together. Thank you. And at this point, I'd like to invite my colleagues, Amna, Kylie, and Kevin, to join me as we begin our question and answer session.